The way we interact with games has really changed over the last few decades. We're no longer restricted to keyboard, mouse, and game controller interfaces. Natural user interfaces are a consistently emerging trend in video games. What is a natural user interface? Natural user interfaces, or NUIs, are interfaces that are designed to reuse existing skills for interacting with content. These existing skills are often ways we are already accustomed to using our body through things like movement, gesture, and voice. With the advances in gaming technology over recent years, there has also been an increased interest in the psychological impacts of games. There is a lot of interesting research about games being used as both physical and mental health interventions. There are specific use cases for games as a health intervention for anxiety and depression. That is where the idea of meditative games as an intervention comes in. There are a lot of games that have specific goals to make players calm and relaxed and even practice meditation exercises. For the purpose of the study, these games are termed meditative games. I decided to see what NUIs work best with meditative games to give players a more positive experience. The two NUI devices I looked at for the study were touch and eye tracking. To compare these interfaces, I created a prototype of a meditative fish pond game where you're a firefly hovering over the pond and bringing your light to the koi fish. I used design practices and elements I learned from the games that I researched as part of the literature review of my study. The goal was to create a meditative game that accepts a variety of NUIs for input. Users then try it out and see which interfaces gave them the most positive affect. Lumiere works with two different interfaces. A touch interface, where users tap to select their options on the menu, and tap to control the movement of the firefly. The other interface is the eye tracking interface, where users can look at menu items for 3 seconds to select them, and where they look around the fish pond to control the movement of the firefly. Implementing a touch interface in Unity isn't too difficult. Unity has a scripting API that already incorporates touch input commands. In order to implement the eye tracking interface, I used Toby's eye tracking SDK for Unity. I used some of the functionality of the Toby scripting API, such as the gaze point property and the gaze aware component. For the study, participants completed a series of tasks using both interfaces. Right after each session, participants filled in 2 questionnaires: a standardized systems usability score questionnaire for each of the interfaces to determine how they saw the usability of each system, and a positive and negative affect schedule questionnaire to learn about their feelings associated with each interface. Users were also asked which interface they preferred and why. The study showed the average SUS scores of the interfaces were identical, but with a greater standard deviation for the touch interface. This means that the users scored varied a bit more for their responses to the touch interface questionnaire. As for the affect scores, the eye tracking interface on average was given a higher positive affect score and a lower negative affect score than the touch interface. But generally, all users found both interfaces to give a high positive affect and low negative affect. Overall, 7 out of 8 users said they preferred the eye tracking interface over the touch interface for the meditative game. So that's what I did for my honors project. This is just a small part of what we can learn from natural user interfaces and meditative games. Further studies can be done over a longer period of time that take into account regular usage of a system, incorporate biological feedback, and of course use a wider variety of NUIs. More elaborate studies can be done to give us more information about the health benefits that natural user interfaces can have for users. And that's something which I would love to see more of in the future. Thank you for listening to my presentation.